Why India has changed its vote in UN General Assembly. Why it is siding with Palestine against Israel. Is it about peace or pressure? A storm is brewing at the UN General Assembly, where the New York Declaration, backed by 142 nations, have put Gaza, Israel and Palestine back in global focus. And India, it has made a bold choice by saying yes this time. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and today we are going to understand the New York Declaration, how it is an important step in the direction of bringing peace and regional stability in Asia, and also what is the significance of India's vote and how it marks that New Delhi will choose dialogue, it will choose peace over silence, and showing its tragedy. That New Delhi prefers principles and dialogue over silence. Now let us start with understanding that what exactly is this New York Declaration. Now New York Declaration is basically a resolution which was initiated at UN General Assembly, and this resolution was about renewing the global efforts so that the two-state solution to the Israel and Palestine conflict can be brought to an end. Now when we talk about two-state solution as a term, this is not something new. This particular term and the solution itself has been doing rounds for more than 75 years, but this resolution itself gives it a renewed focus. Now when we talk about this resolution was drafted by France, and the co-chair here was Saudi Arabia, and 142 nations have voted in favor of this resolution. That means they have said yes to the two-state solution which can bring an end to Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And the important part here is that India is part in this particular favoring. Now when we talk about this particular resolution, it is also important to understand its direct objective. The objective here is simple, that they want to end the war that is going on in Gaza. They want to end the atrocities, they want to end the starvation that is going on in Gaza, and to establish a sovereign Palestinian state alongside Israel. So the whole idea is two states which will be existing alongside, and this is the basic provision which will give a roadmap to peace, to stability in the region and security as well. Because this Israel-Palestine conflict has been affecting this whole region, where we talk about Israel directly attacking in Qatar to target Hamas leaders and involving other parties. It is getting more complex, more threatening, and the regional security has become a question here. So that's why this move, this New York Declaration, is a welcome move. And now let us move ahead and understand that what are the key demands of this declaration. So if we talk about, before we get into this New York Declaration, we have to understand in 1947 itself, UN had given a division plan where the areas in green were the part of the Arab state, and this will be covering Egyptian border, it will be covering Gaza, the West Bank, and the capital here will be at Jerusalem. And the part in cream color that you see, this will be the Jewish state, and this was mentioned, this was brought back in 1947 itself. So if we talk about the UN decision which was taken 75 years ago to divide Palestine into two states, this is the time where we actually implement this. It has not been implemented in reality, and this particular region has seen worst of the humanitarian crisis, war and whatnot. Furthermore, UN took another step. In 1977, the UN decided to celebrate November 29 as International Day of Solidarity with Palestinian people. So that means in terms of global effort, there has been a regular push. The timeline have definitely been affected by the global leadership. For example, 2020, Donald Trump had changed the focus of the global effort and made it a unilateral thing. But not getting into that, Moving to the main important components of the declaration, that is New York Declaration. The first one being immediate cessation of hostilities. That means any sort of attacks, be it through rockets, be it through airstrikes, they need to be stopped, and the incitement to violence need to be stopped immediately. Furthermore, this has been backed up with freeze on settlement and annexation activities. The annexation activities that are going on in West Bank and especially in West Bank and East Jerusalem, including land seizures, demolition of Palestinian homes, this also has been asked to freeze. Furthermore, the third important component has been the public commitment by Israel. This has been renegotiated in terms of two-state framework, where Israel has been asked to publicly recommit to this two-state framework and renounce all sort of annexationist policies that they have been resorting to. There are more such components such as recognition of Gaza, which is going to be a problematic part for Israel to accept, where Gaza has to be an integral part of the future Palestinian state, and there has been a clear mention that there needs to be end to the blockade and occupation that is going on by Israel, and there can be no forced displacement of the residents as well. When we are talking about Israel, multiple components here might be possibly be a little problematic to them, and they would be condemning it, they have been condemning it, but at the same time problem from the other side in terms of the Hamas terrorist group, that has been also targeted. That another provision is about disarmament of Hamas and its exclusion from the government. So the declaration also talks about this terrorist outfit, that the governance cannot take place by Hamas, especially in Gaza, if they want to come up with a unified Palestinian administration. So both of the parties have to come to the solution, and this can be followed, this should be followed to in order to actually come to the two-state solution that we are talking about. Apart from this, there has been a direct mention about international guarantees. That means there will be a establishment of temporary international stabilization mission, which will be clearly focusing on monitoring ceasefire, supporting humanitarian access, which is much required in Gaza, and provide security assurances to both parties which are involved, be it Israel or be it Palestinian. Furthermore, there has been a special mention for regional actors, for example, countries like Egypt, Jordan, Gulf states. These actors have been encouraged so that they can assist in negotiation, they can help in reconstruction of these areas, and also institution building, so that both of these places get to build up from scratch into better places to live, and they are not war-torn anymore. Apart from the components or the key points of this New York Declaration, something very important for us to understand is India's vote. Because if you talk about India's vote in the favor of two-state solution, it is important because of two simple reasons. India has favored two-state solution, it has favored Palestine, but at the same time, as Israel is an important partner, in recent years, India has abstained from voting. So this time when India voted yes in the list, if you see the list, you will find India has voted a yes, only 10 countries came up with a no. India's vote becomes very significant. Why it becomes significant? For the very first reason that it shows a clear historic consistency. India as a country has recognized PLO, that is Palestine Liberation Organization, in 1974, and it went ahead and recognized Palestine as a state in 1988 as well. Also, it has supported the two-state solution, which was based on 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as capital of Palestine. Now, this clearly shows that we are consistent with what we have been telling in the past, with what we have been saying in the past, and we still side with the same thing. Furthermore, this also shows a policy shift. How it shows a policy shift? Because as I said, for years we have been abstaining on critical votes wherever it comes to conflicting our ties or straining our Israel ties. So India this time returned to an active role rather than being passive in the voting, and voted in the favor of New York Declaration itself. Now this shows principled diplomacy. That means it is clearly about peace and we are not being pressurized into situation. It shows that we are committed to the multipolar world, we are committed to the international law, humanitarian concerns, and also negotiations, sitting on the table and talking. That means we are against unilateral actions and any sort of prolonged conflict. That is something that we have propagated, that is something we have stood for long, and these are our principles, and by voting yes in this particular declaration, we show that we have been a principled nation which follows a principled diplomacy, and we are going to continue that. Second thing, it has also been a showcase of soft power. So when you talk about voting in the favor of this New York Declaration, you have to understand you are siding with 141 other countries. That means India is clearly aligning with broad international consensus. We are strengthening our image, our voice in multilateral forums, and especially among the global south. And it also clearly signals a balance, that this vote is not about the friendship with Israel, the partnership with Israel. It does not override the long-standing partnership that they have had, but at the same time, it is also about favoring or standing with solidarity that they have had with the Palestinian people, and that is the clear balance that we want to follow. That business, trade, partnership at one place and principles at one place. That is what is the significance of India's vote. As I said in the starting, that New Delhi is going to commit to principles, to dialogue over silence, and it has been shown through this particular vote. Now, any stance that a country takes at a global stage will not be there without any consequences. Now, let us understand that how India's vote will affect its foreign policies, its domestic policies, and its stature. So, in terms of foreign policy, the first impact point would be with Israel. So, once we have voted in the favor of two-state solution, which was not the choice of Israel, that means there is a possible diplomatic fallout or some sort of ease with Israel, because Israel has clearly labeled that this declaration is not about solution. It is a gift that we are giving to Hamas, which is a terrorist group organization. India will also need to focus in terms of diplomacy so that they are able to reassure that Israel that their ties are intact, be it in terms of trade partnership, be it in terms of diplomacy, and their ties remain unaffected at this point of time. Furthermore, when we are talking about the impact, it is going to also affect our relationship with Arab and other Gulf nations, where we have voted in their side. That means it is going to strengthen our ties. Saudi Arabia was co-chair, it was drafted by France. That means we are favoring, we are standing with them. So this vote strengthens our tie with Saudi Arabia, which was the co-chair, UAE, Qatar, Egypt, etc. And it directly becomes very important in terms of energy security, because 60% of our crude imports even today come from the Gulf area. And this will also ensure the welfare of almost 9 million Indian expatriates which live there. Furthermore, it also facilitates India in a broader West Asian role. It will enhance India's image that it is contributing to the regional stability. It will also enhance India's image as a neutral problem solver which has the capability to keep its trade ties at one part and principles on the other side. That means India is capable of dialogue with all parties and coming out to a judgment which actually assures the greater good. But when we talk about impacts, not just in terms of the global effect, we also have to understand that it will have an effect on the domestic politics as well. The first one being the fact that the public sentiment will be affected. In India, there are sections of Indian society which have historically supported the Palestinian cause, and given the humanitarian crisis that is going on there, much of our society is aligning with them. So this vote resonates with that legacy, with that section of public as well. Second, if we talk about political balance, it favors it because it addresses the concerns of the groups which are critical for India's closeness to Israel, but it is maintaining government's pragmatic outreach to especially Tel Aviv. And last will be the one which I started with, that it is reinforcing India's stance that it will act on principle, it not acting on. That it will act on principle but not on pressure. Now that was all from my side. Now tell me in the comment section which were the 10 countries which have voted not in favor of this resolution and what could be the possible reasons or the reasons that they have given. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.